Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope your day is going wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to create a project for Reverse Confetti. It's actually part of a blog hop that's happening right now, so if you want to get inspired, I encourage you to head on over. The link for that's down below. But these two are part of last month's release. You have the stamp set that's called the U coordinates, and then you also have the die sets. It's the U confetti kit die set. Now this is nice because it layers together, so you have the outline. If you layer them together, it will create the outline of a U. If you use the largest one, you can mat the smaller one right on top, so you have a little shadow behind it. And that also has a little heart, which is nice. I chose these 4 colored cardstocks to cut my U out with, and then also some gold to cut out the outline with. I thought we'd create an entire background with you. So we're going to cut out basically 8 U's with the outline and gold cardstock, and then 2 of each of the other colored cardstock. Now that top one actually is a pale peach. It looks kind of white in the video, but it's actually a pale peach. Once everything is die cut, we are going to create a background. So we need a panel to put it on, and mine measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. Leaves me a little bit of a border on my card base, you can see here. We're going to start off by adhering the gold U to our panel. Now you could do it any way you want, guys, but horizontal, vertical, but I thought we'd go diagonal today. Now I wanted to make sure that I could get 4 rows on my panel because I wanted to show all 4 colors that we die cut out with the U. And I think we can get 4 in there just beautifully. I didn't need to die cut out the top and bottom colors twice. I just needed to do it once, and then 2 of the center ones. But once they're all adhered, I press down really good, and I'm going to take my scissors and trim off the excess. Now there's one area on the very top U where I could add the beginning of a Y, and these are where these little pieces come in handy. You just adhere them to your panel for any open areas that you need to fill in. Okay, basically we're going to layer our colors with the lightest to the darkest, and so it'll go like that light pale peach, and then the orange, and then a corally pinky, and then we have a like a rosy pink colored cardstock. Now I thought we needed a little dimension, and rather than adding foam adhesive behind each one of these letters, I thought we'd just die cut out some of the U's. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 times with some white fun foam. I have some in my stash. Most of my fun foam is adhesive backed, but I do have some white that's not. So I'm just going to glue it over the gold cardstock, and then we'll adhere our colored cardstock right over the top. Now, if you add glue to the gold cardstock that I'm using, it has a tendency to want to move around. So we're going to finish this panel, and then we're going to continue on with another card. Originally I was going to do one, and I thought the color palette was so pretty. We'll make another pretty easy card while this dries. So everything is setting, and once it's set, you can flip your panel over, and we can trim it off. And I love the sturdiness that the fun foam adds versus little thin strips of foam tape. I just think it works out a lot better. I'm going to carefully flip it over and just trim off the excess, and it kept wanting to slide because of the gold cardstock and the fun foam, so carefully we're going to trim it. I'm going to add my beginning of a Y here. Need a little more glue, and then we'll just trim off the rest. Okay, we're gonna add our little pieces to our little trash bin, and I love the way this looks. I think it's so, now hindsight, I think what I would have did is made sure one of those U's was a full YOU. I don't have one of them that is actually a YOU. It's all bits and pieces. So if you're gonna redo this, I'd scoot over one of the U's to be the full size U on the panel. Okay, for my next card, I'm going to be using a panel cover die. This is from Reverse Confetti. It's part of the new release also. It's called the Along the Dotted Lines cover panel. I'm going to die cut some dotted lines on a panel that measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And then we're going to add the outline of the U. I'm flipping the panel around because I want to stamp my sentiment below the U, and I want to make sure that my sentiment doesn't land on those dotted lines. I'm afraid it would be illegible and you wouldn't be able to read it. So I die cut that out, and we're going to use the negative piece, not the positive piece, for our next card. Now I have all these paper pieces from when I die cut out my U's. I'm going to trim them down. I'm going to trim down 4 1/2-inch strips, 4 1/4-inch strips, and we're going to use up our scrap pieces here. And I'm also going to trim down a whole bunch of thinner, about less than 1/8 of an inch strips to create some backgrounds for our card today. I'm going to bring in some white cardstock, and so we're going to start off by adhering our 1/2-inch strips in the same order that we did our U panel on some white cardstock. I'm just adding my tape runner behind it, layering them together, and then we'll set this aside and work on our next panel. Now this is a little larger than a 3/4-inch strip. I thought we would stamp our sentiment on the right side and then have some diagonal stripes with the same colors on the left side. So I'm going to place these strips in reverse order, actually, starting with the palest peach. And I think we better grab our stamp set first. For this card, we're going to use, just sitting here thinking of, and then we have the whole background panel that'll say U, U, U. But I wanted to make sure I can get all 4 of my 1/4-inch strips on the end of this panel. So I'm just going to lightly tack my sentiment and scoot over this first strip. And then we can just continue on. We'll add our orange. And then we'll also add our corally color. And then our darkest pink. I'll just flip this over and trim off the excess. And then I can go ahead and stamp my sentiment. And we're using Versamark ink for this. It's kind of a sticky ink, so you want to be careful not to smear. You could heat emboss it with clear embossing powder if you wanted to, but I wanted it to be real bold and black. Okay, we're going to give this a little time to dry, or otherwise, trust me, I will smear it. I don't know how, but I always get ink on my fingers if I don't emboss with clear. Okay, in the meantime, while that's drying, I'm going to take the other U, not the outline, but this is the one that you put on the inside layer. I'm going to go ahead and die cut this out with our pattern paper that we created here. Lots of cardstock here, and I was afraid I would have to use a shim for die cutting this out, but it actually cut out. It didn't look like it was going to, but you just need to give it a little help when you die cut this one out with all that cardstock. Okay, this one's going to go to our panel that has our Along the Dotted Lines cover panel, and we're going to take that panel actually and stamp our sentiment while we have our stamp set out. For this card, underneath the U, we're going to stamp You Make My Heart Smile. And again, this is why I positioned the U there, because I didn't want it to hit any of the dotted lines. I was afraid it would mess up the sentiment, basically. So we'll ink this up and stamp it right under, centering it. And this looks fabulous. It says You Make My Heart Smile, just because card. Okay, and we'll let this one dry, and then we are going to take our first card. This is basically going to go like this. We'll take our first card and add some foam adhesive behind it. Actually, I take that back. I'm going to add all these little itty bitty thin strips of cardstock. I used up basically all the scrap pieces that I had, including the gold. I thought the gold was a nice little touch. Had I known the gold was going to look this good, I would have added a little bit of gold to the sentiment right above it, and also to the U that we had just die cut out, because it really does add some nice detail to your pattern. Okay, I added all my little thin strips here. I wanted it wide enough so we can die cut out a heart with it. And rather than just trimming off the excess and tossing them, I thought we'd add some more cardstock behind it. So the excess cardstock, I'm just flipping over my panel since there's already adhesive behind it. We're gonna tuck it behind there so we have a longer strip. Easy peasy, and we don't have to trim it off. But again, the U confetti cut die does have a little heart, and I want to die cut this out. Now I'm not sure if I want the stripes to be diagonal or vertical or horizontal, so I think I did one of each. And then we could just figure out which one we're going to use on our project. And then the extra you could put on the inside of your card too. And I have some more room on that stripe paper that we just created to create some more hearts if we wanted to. I'm going to pop up my U panel, put this on my card base. I did use my fun foam for that, and I love the way this looks. I really suggest for letter dies like this, if you use your white fun foam, it really adds a stability to your letters, kind of gives it a quality feel. But I'm going to add my sentiment. Not sure where to put it yet. And I'm thinking I'm going to put it towards the bottom. And again, I think if you were to die cut out one of the U's, maybe the orange U's, and center it more, it wouldn't look it would look more legible. How about that? I'm going to go ahead and remove the release paper off of my second card. I did add foam tape adhesive behind it, and we're going to place this on our card base. As I got ready to put it down, I thought, you know what, we need a little extra something, so I'm going to bring in some gold cardstock, and I'm going to mat this panel on gold. I think it's going to work out better, give me just a little bit of gold behind my sentiment and also around the border. So I don't have a measurement for it, but I am just going to mat it. I needed to add a piece of fun foam tape behind that U, or the U, and we'll just center this. Okay, we have the inside of the O. I'm going to add a foam adhesive behind that, but we're not going to add it just yet. I'm afraid if I add it now, I will have to pick it up and move it, because we still have to add our U on the inside. What we're going to do is flip this panel over and adhere this directly to another A2 size card base, making sure it's centered. Okay, and then we can grab our die cut out U, and I'm going to add foam adhesive behind here, but you know what, I doubled up on the foam adhesive for this. So this is one level higher than my background panel, so it kind of stands out. We'll center that, and I love that I added the gold because you could really see it behind there. It just gives it a little something extra with that plain white background. Okay, now we're going to add our hearts. I'm going to take a gold heart, and we're going to add that to the diagonal stripes on our very first card here, but I am going to pop it up with foam adhesive. And then our second heart, you can see we already added to the center of our O there on our second card. Now this I thought looked really good. It looks I think it looks very classy, like clean and classy, if that's a word. But I needed just some sparkle. You could have added some sequins if you wanted to, but I'm going to use my not Journey Glaze. This is Glossy Accents. It's a little bit thicker over both of the hearts on each of the cards. And then I have some iridescent glitter. I'm going to take, I didn't have a spoon that's small enough for this, and I just wanted to add a little bit. I love doing this. If you guys haven't did it, you will love the outcome. But add some glitter to the top of your glossy accents. I'm going to do it to the second one too, but more on the gold, less on the U heart, only because I wanted you to see the stripes behind it. But when it dries super sparkly, and it seals all that glitter in there. But I love the way you'll see it in the close-ups. Actually, in the close-ups, it's not quite dry yet. It'll dry crystal clear, like a gem almost. Looks like a little metal embellishment that's super shiny on your card. But that's my card today, guys. Come on over to the blog hop. I know you'll be inspired. Have a great day. We will see you again real soon. Bye-bye.